What's up, Hobby Maniacs? Rob Berry here today with a fantastic new look at some Chaos rules. Yep, that's right. Chaos got some new rules finally for, the first time actually in roughly 4 years. I guess the Chaos Space Marine Codex that we all either know and love or know and loathe came out in October of 2012. So we're coming right up on 4 years. It hasn't really had a 7th edition update. They tried the Black Legion supplement a few years ago, then they did the Crimson Slaughter, and I want to say a year later in 2013. And, none of that stuff's really kind of made a splash. It's all like, Dinobots and, cultists. It's kind of, if you played in 3rd edition, it's definitely a far cry from what that book was, and I think it's probably those veterans leading the charge saying, hey, you guys need to fix Chaos. And GW's probably like, yo, Chaos is fine. What are you talking about? You guys are stupid. But, who knows what's going on there. But this was the first update over the 7th edition for the Chaos in particular. Now there's new formations in here. There's some existing war gear. And actually, I'm not sure if it's new or old, just because of the fact that my iPad basically updated itself. And, I was able to download the new book actually early for some reason. I guess somebody goofed at Apple or GW or whatever. But, I saw the little cloud icon and I'm like, hey, what's that? Boop. And there it is. I get the new book. So I was like, hey, that's cool. I guess, spending the $50, 3 years ago on the enhanced version got me somewhere. Which I actually noticed, too, that it updated my Farsight Enclaves book as well over to the new one that's got the Monka stuff and things, and it had the same symbol, and I'm like, yo, what's that? So I've got the Monka EPUB, but I got the enhanced version of the Farsight book right there, which was really cool to see. So we got that. We're able to actually get this kind of like first look review kind of thing done a little early. And what's nice about it is, besides being on the iPad, and I know there's different ways to, record screenshots and things like that, but all that stuff takes time. And let's be honest, part of what we do here and part of the support we get from everybody over on Patreon is so we can have time to do more things. And with all of the new releases coming out next week, I thought it would just be good just to knock this out real quick, get it done ahead of time, so we could take a look and kind of clear the tracks, so to speak, for all the other, you got the new Angels of Death book coming out, you've got the Crimson Slaughter book coming out, of course, both of which I'm going to buy regardless, but then you've also got some new kind of starter box kind of sets, or I guess repackaged kind of box, so I'm sure people will just kind of see how those come and if there's a data sheet in them and things like that. So we're basically trying to, grease the skids and get this stuff out of the way. So bear with, my little iPad recording here, just because it's still pretty good. I mean, you see a little reflection here, but once we open up the pages, it pretty much goes away. So it's got all of the normal kind of stuff that you would come to expect from a supplemental codex. It's got your introduction at the Long War. Hey, great name, guys. Obviously, shameless plug, if you're not a veteran of the Long War, go over to thelongwar.net and sign up today for all the exclusive content and early access videos that we put out between the Long War itself, doing the battle reports, the channel here, Spiky Bits, as well as Next Level Painting. There's always all sorts of stuff going on over there. So you've got that, and that's all of basically the fluff in the background, comprising the stuff from the Terra books, all of the stuff that happened in basically the mid, I guess, 2000s and early 2000s. Then it goes over to showing you the different chapters and things for Black Legion warbands. Then you've got the actual army book, which contains all the rules. So let's click on that. So basically they're telling you basically how it works. Like, you can use either the Chaos artifacts, any character in the Black Legion detachment formation can select Chaos artifacts, can now choose from the Chaos artifacts of the Black Legion, which are on the next page for the points cost listed, in addition to the Chaos artifacts from Chaos Space Marine Codex. So that's kind of cool to see, I feel like. Now, designer's note, they kind of updated a preferred enemy thing, or hatred Space Marines, to include Space Marine Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Grey Knights, and Space Wolves as well. And we also saw that with the Psychic card update that's coming out next week as well, which is something else that we'll be getting. And all these things are going to go back to all the folks that help support us over on Patreon as well. So there'll be a bunch of swag going out for all the new releases to the folks, as well as I think this month's this month, if you jump on and support us this month, we have a huge Horus Heresy painted army that we're going to be breaking up and sending out in chunks. Unless if you don't want the painted stuff, we'll send you, unpainted stuff. We'll do a little vote next month. But also this month is sponsored by Cromlech, so everybody will get a sweet little Cromlech swag bag as well in the mail from the folks over at Cromlech that make great conversion bits and also resin bases and things like that. So here's a Warlord traits table. I don't think these changed, and like I said, it kind of overwrote my old book, so I can't, I don't have two books to compare it to. I'm just kind of going off memory. So, if somebody can basically jump on here and be like, hey, that was new, that wasn't new. I'm pretty sure a lot of the war gear and the traits stayed the same, however the formations did not. Another thing I like about this format is that it lays out the Warlord traits and then the war gear, and then you jump into the formations. Because kind of my thing is, I always want to be keeping an eye on or thinking about the war gear and also the traits and things. And a lot of times you got to go to the back of the book or the paper copies, right? So this one I feel like is a little bit easier to kind of wrap your brain around there. So the first one that you could roll is the Warlord and all the friendly units within 12 inches have the preferred enemy Space Marine special rule, which, we just talked about that in that designer note there. Now, Eye of the Gods is just to reroll, I believe, the mutation table, yep. And you have to reroll it and accept it either way. That's pretty standard kind of thing. Gift of Balefire, it's a Strength 4 template, AP 3, Assault 1, Soul Blaze, 1 use only, so it's basically something similar to a Helldrake, kind of a one-shot weapon. Unholy Fortitude, it will not die, special rule at the end of your turn. Your Warlord gets it will not die. Okay, that's pretty cool. It will not die, we played at Adepticon, we played in the team tournament, and each one of us, Kenny, Juice, Mike Haspel, and myself, we each played a different Chaos God, so we all had the same things. We all had Helldrakes, and that has it will not die. So it was really funny that I was always rolling that, and it was coming back to me that so many things actually have it will not die. We just sometimes forget about it, and believe it or not, more times than often, I actually got back hull points on my Helldrake. It was pretty funny. Soul Eater, instant death special rule. If a model attacking with a melee weapon, any to wound rolls a 6 has the instant death special rule. That's pretty cool. And then the last one is the Chosen of Abaddon. And that is the Warlord and all friendly units within 12 inches of this Warlord have the Stubborn special rule. So that's kind of good. I feel like these guys should have some sort of they shall know no fear or fearless kind of thing, but you're going to see that there's actually a formation in here that does that sort of thing. Now, the Crucible of Lies is 25 points, and what's cool about that is the bearer of the Crucible of Lies has -1 toughness, but may re-roll invulnerable saves of 1. Okay, I could see that. It's semi-useful, but it can also kind of crimp you because of the instant death threshold. Then you've got the Eye of Night, which is 75 points, and that is a infinite range, strength 5, AP 4, large blast. Haywire Maelstrom ignores cover, 1 use only, but what it does is D3 automatic penetrating hits. So any vehicles, buildings, or fortifications that are fully or partially beneath the marker. I'm not sure it's worth 75 points, to be quite honest. I would probably never take it, but, if there's certain tactical situations that you just might need it. The Hand of Darkness confers a one-time instant death attack that has melee, armor bane, and flesh bane, so it's strength strength times 2 and AP 1. So that can do some serious work right there, but it is a one-time attack. For the points cost, I mean, it's a slayer of heroes. When you absolutely positively have to kill something, I guess you better at least hit. You know what I mean? The last memory of Thanos is a Psyker only. The Psyker increases his mastery level by 1, but does not generate an additional psychic power. He gets a psychic power from the Pyromancy chart, which I think is Sunburst. Yep, it looks like it's going to be Sunburst there. Now, that's kind of interesting because I remember there was one that gave you a divination power, but I'm not sure if it was in this book or Crimson Slaughter. And if it isn't in this book, then they might have taken it out and they might have realized that, hey, Chaos Space Marines having divination is semi-powerful. I think the points cost pretty much covered it for what it did, but that's just really, it might be in Crimson Slaughter, like I said. I didn't buy that book. To be quite honest, after I bought Black Legion, and I was pretty pissed off at it at that point, being, you know, a follower of the Dark Gods myself and playing Chaos for so many years. I was like, yo, I'm not even gonna buy this Crimson Slaughter book. GW, shame on you. I was really mad at the time, and I think my sentiments actually echo what a lot of folks felt like, you know, back in when the Dark Angel book came out in 2012, I think in September, and then the Chaos one, and then it's just like, what are they doing? You know, it was just like such a weird time for the hobby, you with 6th edition and all this stuff. It was just, I don't know, it was a very weird time. It definitely feels different right now. It's more positive and more upbeat, so I don't want to really harp on it that much. Then we got the new Skull piece of war gear here, which confers Eternal Warrior and Adamantite Will special rule for only 40 points, which I think is pretty solid. That was one of the biggest problems with Chaos, is they don't have Eternal Warrior, and being able to get it there is pretty dope. For 30 points, you can get the Spine Shiver Blade. That's Strength of User AP3 Melee Daemon Weapon Quicksilver, and Quicksilver is the bearer of the blade, has +1 initiative in close combat. So a neat way to get an initiative bonus, which you don't normally see in the game. Then we get to the formation section, and I think there's 6 different ones. This one's the Bringers of Despair, which is a formation of Abaddon the Despoiler and 1 unit of Chaos Terminators. What I like about this one here is, is the Chaos Terminators that are part of this formation, including the Terminator Champion, have a weapon skill, a ballistic skill of 5 rather than 4. So that definitely helps out being an elite level troop. And then the Despoiler Guard gets to re-roll their Lookout Sir rolls for Abaddon. Now, Abaddon's a Billy Badass, so, you know, if Abaddon's throwing off, you know, wounds, I feel like, yo, you're getting hit with some D weapons or something, so maybe Abaddon's not in a good spot, you know what I mean? But it's still kind of cool to see, nonetheless, being able to Lookout Sir a 2-up save and a 2-up save gets you some interesting math mechanics, I guess, so to speak. Then the Chosen Abaddon, and I really like this one. It's a formation of 1 to 4 Chaos Lords or Sorcerers and 4 units of Chosen or Chaos Terminators. And so you basically take the HQ guys, you split them off, and you have to attach them to these squadrons, or these groups. But as long as they're alive, they confer Fearless to the squad, and that's one of the biggest things Chaos doesn't have. So that's really neat to see. So if you can pull that one off and keep them alive and keep them in there, well, those Chosen units or those Terminator units can probably do some work. And remember, Terminator units can fit in a Spartan tank. Now, Chaos is a little hamstrung in the fact that the Land Raider only fits 5 Terminators, but you can take them in squads of 3, but then their survivability obviously goes down. So take a look at taking a Spartan. You can take the, not the Legacies of Glory, but the opposite thing for Chaos. You can also take those for your tanks as well, so to give you a little bit of a bonus, maybe survivability bonus. The Hounds of Abaddon is basically a kind of quasi-Khorne formation. It's not super powerful, but what it does is it lets you to take the Mark of Khorne on things that can, independent characters and things, for free. So, you know, having a Mark of Khorne and having Rage is actually pretty decent, you know, having all those attacks. Also, Let Slip the Hounds is a really cool special rule, which allows them, at the start of any of your turns after the first, notice the first, you may declare a mass assault for the duration of the turn. Units from this formation charge in the assault phase, even if they made a run move in the same turn. In Khorne's favor, special rule, if I could click on it. My hands are a little bit cold, so sometimes it doesn't register. If a unit from the formation makes a successful charge for the total rolled is 8 or above, they get +1 to the strength for strength of the model until the end of the assault phase, which is pretty neat. I feel like it's probably not super powerful, because if you're Khorne, you're probably already getting that Furious Charge bonus. So really all it's doing is starting to ID out things that perhaps you somehow made -1 toughness. You know what I mean? Like if you get stuff down to toughness 3 somehow, either through, you know, Biomancy, Malediction, or something like that, then you're up to strength 6, then you can start IDing out things. So it is a little bit of a combo, but it's probably not something that you're going to see on the tabletop that much, I feel like. Daemon Engine Pack, it's probably the weakest of all the formations in here, to be quite honest. You get 1 Warpsmith and 2 Forge Fiends or Mauler Fiends, and it lets you use the Warpsmith weapon skill, ballistic skill, I believe. Let's see. I believe that's what it was. It's not super powerful. So they get preferred enemy against something they pick. So they're basically, hey, we're attacking this this character or whatever. And then the start of each of the shooting or assault phases, you can nominate a Forge Fiend or Maul Fiend from the formation that is within 12 inches of the Warpsmith. Until the end of the phase, that model uses the weapon skill or ballistic skill. So, I mean, it's good, but it's not like all inclusive. Like if you have these models, that's a neat little formation, but competitively on the tabletop, you're probably not going to see it that much, I feel like. Then we got the Cyclopedia Cabal. Encyclopedia Cabal. It's 2 to 5 sorcerers, and they have this really interesting special rule called the Shroud of Deceit. And what this is any of the psychers from the Cabal that are within 12 of the person doing the psychic test. Now notice the wording on this. At the start of each of your psychic phases, select one model from the Cabal to lead it in its dark ritual. That model can attempt to manifest the Shroud of Deceit psychic power below. For each other psyker from this formation that is within 12 inches, add 1 to the psychic test. These dice do not cost any warp charge points. So it's very well worded, not like the Librarius Conclave, I feel like. So the Shroud of Deceit is warp charge 3. So what it's doing here is it's not giving you a bonus to cast, but it's basically giving you free warp charge points for every dude within 12. But also they can still cast. There's no caveat in here about the end of the phase or yada yada yada, whatever. They just have to be within 12 inches. The Shroud of Deceit is a psychic power that targets a single non-enemy unit within 30 inches, or non-vehicle unit, enemy unit. That target cannot be locked in close combat. You can immediately make a shooting attack with that unit as though it were part of your army. So for Warp Charge 2 or Warp Charge 3, which probably you're going to have a bonus to it depending on how many sorcerers you take, you can use their psychic or their shooting attacks against them as long as they are not a vehicle unit, which is pretty interesting. The Necrons used to be able to do that to a vehicle, and now the Chaos can do it to a squadron. The Tormented is a 1 Demon Prince and 2 to 3 units of Possessed. They have the Advanced Possession special rule that ups their weapon skill and initiative to 5, and it also gives them the de facto rending special rule. But any unit of Possessed from the Tormented that is not locked in close combat at the start of turn must take a leadership chest. If it fails, the unit can only move D6 with the movement phase and is racked with Mutative Spasms. Units that are within 18 inches of the Demon Prince pass this test automatically. So Demon Princes in and of themselves are not hard to kill. So I feel like, and they obviously move 12, they're a flyer, it's more advantageous to keep them in the air. For the most part, so now you're moving 18. So it's going to be very hard for those guys to keep up and to keep your Demon Prince safe, I feel like. So this formation, Possessed in and of themselves are, if you look at their stat line, you're like, wow, they're actually pretty good. You look at their points cost and you're like, whoa, they're garbage. You know what I mean? So now you're kind of not really helping them in that regard, I feel like. So I don't know what to say about this other than the fact that I don't think it's very good. But if you have the models, it's something to take on the tabletop. And then we get to the very last formation. It's kind of an overall inclusive formation that you can see here. This I kind of feel like they put in here in lieu of a Decurion, which we didn't see in here, unfortunately. Comes with a special rule, Favorite of the War Master. When a model from the Black Legion Warband rolls on the Chaos Boon chart as a result of the Champions of Chaos special rule, roll twice on the table and choose one or both of the results. That could actually be pretty advantageous. Thirst for Glory is the second special rule. If an enemy is completely destroyed by a unit from the Black Legion Warband, all other units from the Black Legion Warband can reroll to hit and to wound rolls of 1 until the end of the phase. So carefully pick out who you're attacking with first, because it's your priority, and that might help you, in some assaults. I feel like overall these are really neat things that they gave Chaos players, but I guess in the overall scheme of things, Chaos is still extremely underpowered in my opinion. And this book really doesn't go to do much to help it besides, maybe some fluffy lists, some fluffy things here and there. But competitively, not much going on here. I don't feel like there's some decent stuff, but it's not super things that you're going to have to look out for on the tabletop from people, splashing in Chaos to with all their other current lists. I don't think that's really going to be a thing. If you're a Chaos player, it's neat. You might want to try some of it out, But, at the end of the day, it's really just kind of like a fluffy type thing, unfortunately. And, we're going to be talking a lot more about power creep in the books. There's never been a balance. I think everybody can agree with that for the past 20, 30 years. There's never been a balance to anything. But I can tell you what, when you're looking at a championship tournament such as the Adepticon this year, 2016, and 85 out of the 130 players are sporting Eldar Tau, or a combination therein, there's a clear disconnect in power level and interactions with other models that I think definitely needs to be addressed in going forward by either Games Workshop or TOs, I feel like. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that one comes down the pipe. But now we've got Space Marines with all these new psychic power cards and things like that coming out here on the horizon. So maybe GW knows what they're doing. Maybe they're like, hey, we already knew there was a disbalance, a disconnect, and we've already got the stuff in place to help fix it. So that's going to be interesting going forward. So that's it for this one, y'all. Check out the new releases coming out soon from Games Workshop.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. Thelongwar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.